Okay, Mr. Mayor, we are now live. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Approval for our agenda. Does any member have anything they want to add to the agenda here today? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, we would request addition of a closed session under Section K of the Municipal Act, being to discuss a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. These conversations will include the CAO for the Township of Georgian Bluffs, the acting fire chief for the Inter-Township Fire Department, myself, the City of Owen Sound Fire Chief, and the clerk of the municipality of Meaford.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If there's no other add-ons to agenda, I have a recommendation here that the agenda be amended to include closed session to discuss a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local boards. Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Sullivan, second by Barb. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Madam Clerk, I see no discussion. Would you take the vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I call your name, please indicate whether you are for or against the motion as presented. Councillor Paul Sutherland.
For.
Councillor Steve Bartley. Councillor, you are muted, but I saw that you said for.
For.
Thank you. Mayor Barb Klumpus. Mayor Klumpus, I could see that you said for, so thank you. And Mayor Dwight Burley.
For.
Thank you, and that carries.
Thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest. You can clear anytime you see fit during the meeting. Minutes of the previous minutes. I have a recommendation here that the minutes of the Inter-Township Fire Department Joint Board of Management meeting held on February 9th, 2021 be approved. Someone to move put it on the floor, please. Moved by Steve, second by Paul. Is there any discussion on the motion before? Paul? Go ahead. No?
No, I didn't have any. I was just seconding it.
Thank you. If there's no question, Madam Clerk, you take the vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I call your name, please indicate whether you are for or against the motion as presented. Councillor Paul Sutherland.
For.
Councillor Steve Bartley.
For.
Mayor Barb Klumpus.
For.
And Mayor Dwight Burley.
For.
Thank you, and that carries.
Okay, moving on for agenda. We have no presentations. We have no delegations. Public question periods. Madam Clerk, was there any questions from the public?
There was not.
Thank you. We're down to our correspondence. Office of the Fire Marshal Emergency Management Fire Safety Grant Program. Madam Treasurer, you want to speak to this, please? Cassie?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, pardon? Okay, sorry, there must have been a delay. So the ITFD is going to receive a grant of $7,100 from the Office of the Fire Marshal to be used for training, to assist with training during COVID. In the chief's grant submission, he submitted that the funds would be used to purchase iPads. A lot of training has been moved to virtual format, and currently we do not have the technology in-house to support this training. So the iPads will be purchased for the Inter-Township Firefighter Group to complete their training online. You will see a report coming before Council on April 21st to the Council of the Township of Georgian Bluffs, as this grant is being administered to ITFD through Georgian Bluffs.
Mr. Mayor, you're unmuted.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was better if I was. Does the board have any questions on this piece of correspondence? Seeing none, it is for information. Thank you, Cassie. So moving on, we're down to the staff reports. I have a recommendation here that the Inter-Township Fire Department Board accept report ITFD 2021-01 for information. Someone to move and put it on the floor, please. Moved by Barb, second by Steve. The acting fire chief, do you want to speak to this, please? Jeff?
Yes, I just hope the technology works here okay. I just want to, we've changed things up a little bit. We're starting to give more statistical data for the board. So we're trying to do a monthly comparison year to year. And as you can see, there are some variances, ups and downs with the calls for service in areas. And you will see that mutual aid has creeped up a little bit. And our department, working with Chatsworth and Meaford as well, on both sides of the borders, we've been servicing, like going to calls for service in those areas as well, due to circumstances. It's with manpower and equipment, needing more equipment at these calls. I think everybody around us has been busy with the calls, and so we just, under the mutual aid plan, we've been supporting those. So you'll see those are up a little bit. We've had 3 in 1 day into Chatsworth, so that's where you'll see, as well as our Air Lake truck, Grey County Air Lake truck's being utilized more. It's responding to more calls, so that falls under sort of mutual aid as well in our documenting, and it has been responding to. It was down to it was called into Grey Highlands last week or on the weekend, and then last week it was down to, or 2 weeks ago it was down to over to South Bruce Peninsula. So the fire departments are starting to use it, so you'll probably end up seeing those go up. As well, I've done a breakdown of the types of calls we're responding to, like the public hazards vehicle collisions, if anybody has any questions to regards to what they are. And each of the columns, it's showing you the average number of firefighters responding to these calls. So you'll see like a medical call, 7 firefighters, average of 7, and response time as well. So we're getting people on scene. That's the response times. And there's one call where I worked extreme weather. It was an 18-minute response to Shallow Lake, and that was during a snowstorm. So I'm documenting that as well for you. And then when we get down to the public education part, we're doing more online. We can't get doing the pub ed events due to COVID, so we're utilizing our Facebook page, getting the information out for pub ed, and public safety notes are going through our Facebook page as well. Greg has been in doing inspections. He's done a total of 65 to date. We're pretty lucky with our inspections. We're not finding a whole lot of issues, non-compliance. Everything's between Wayne doing what he did and Greg following up with the stuff he's doing. Most of our people are compliant. We're not doing a whole lot of follow-ups. And I've also broke it down into inspections by property type. So if you guys have any questions, the definitions are there, as well as what we under the inspections, what we classify as those types of services that we do. And then our training is the big one. It's Zoom. We just, with all the COVID on the rise again, we're going to maintain Zoom. It's going to be a month-to-month basis for at least for April. It'll be Zoom at this time, so you can see some of the subjects that we've been covering that way. So these will be the type of report that's going to be coming forward. So overall, we've had a decrease of 10.4% in our first quarter over last year for call responses. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Jeff. Does the board have any questions? If you do, just please speak up if you do. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, you take the vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I call your name, please indicate whether you are for or against the motion as presented. Councillor Paul Sutherland. Councillor Paul Sutherland, you are muted.
Thank
think he's froze.
Apologies, it seems that Councillor Sutherland is having some technical difficulties, so we will circle back. Councillor Steve Bartley,
4.
Mayor Barb Clumpus,
4.
and Mayor Dwight Burley.
Or,
Thank you, and that carries.
okay. We move on to our agenda then. We've no unfinished business. We've no new business. Board inquiries. Does the board have any questions, comments or questions for our acting fire chief? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item. Go ahead, Barb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know that this is a question for the acting fire chief, but it occurred to me as I was going through here. Has there been any discussion of doing a master fire plan for the ITFD?
Not that I'm aware of, Madam Mayor. Madam Treasurer, any comments? Al?
I was just going to say I would defer this to our CAO, Al.
Go ahead, Al.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the mayor, I would suggest that it's likely a very good idea. It's something that I believe if you don't have a roadmap to know where you want to go, you have difficulty getting there. I don't know in terms of the future. Talk about creating a sort of a master plan for the ITFD, but it's something that I will certainly speak to our chief and report back to the board.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Al. Barb, that answers your question?
Does, thank you. I look
Thank you.
forward to that discussion. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions from the board, I'll move on to the agenda. Madam Clerk, I believe we've lost Councillor Sutherland, or I cannot see him.
I'm
He
back
was
here.
just-
Oh, good. Great, I couldn't see it, Paul, that's good. Okay, we'll move into our closed session. That's the Inter-Township Fire Department Joint Board of Management move into closed session at 2:15 with the acting fire chief, CAO, clerk, City of Owen Sound Fire Chief, and clerk of the municipality of Meaford to discuss a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality of local board. Someone to move, put on the floor, please. Moved by Barb, second by Paul. If there's no discussion on the motion before us, Madam Clerk, you take the vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I call your name, please indicate whether you are for or against the motion as presented. Councillor Paul Sutherland,
4.
Councillor Steve Bartley,
4.
Mayor Barb Clumpus,
4.
and Mayor Dwight Burley.
Or,
Thank you, and that carries. And I would just remind all of our board members and all of those participating in the closed session to please leave this meeting invitation and move to the closed session meeting invitation.
Was that closed session sent out also?
Yes, it was. Okay, Mr. Mayor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The board went into closed session to discuss negotiations being undertaken by the board. Staff were provided direction regarding the negotiation. Do we have any other business here today, Madam Clerk? Seeing none, the next board meeting will be May 11th at 2 o'clock. If there's no other business, I'll ask for by Paul. A show of hands for adjournment. I guess everybody's gone. I know I'm gone. Brittany, the only one I see in my screen is your face. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, the motion to adjourn was carried.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We're gone.
Okay,
Good afternoon.
everyone.